We are looking and following what's happening across the country now, with the impeachment of Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua coming to the final day today. And then Parliament has been asked to have a special sitting tomorrow before they go on recess next week. So maybe the special sitting tomorrow is just to look at, the pending business of the House. They don't want to go with a tier plate full, They want to clear some things, some things that we're working on. So people who are thinking that maybe there's another biashara that they'll be discussing tomorrow, you're highly mistaken. The Parliament doesn't work like that. They work on, what's on the order paper.
Eric, what are you talking about? What are you talking about?
I don't know. What do you mean?
No, I heard you talking. Unasema nini?
Kesho bunge inakaa.
Hiyo ni kweli?
Yes. Yeah.
Na?
It's headlines here saying, could they be discussing a new DP? Why would they? Why?
How many days since you are
Why? Our guest, Diana Gichengo, is in the studio.
Yes.
She's here. She is the Executive Director of the Institute for Social Accountability. Diana, how are you doing?
You and your phone, karibuni.
Yes. Very well.
Mko salama?
There's so much
are you
happening.
Here?
I hope I am. I am now very here. I will try to be here.
Welcome.
Yes, I would love, maybe there are many other places, but for now, I am here. I'm here with you. Yeah.
Good.
How have you been?
Very well.
Okay.
Yes.
You're saying Parliament is doing very good business.
He's saying Parliament is doing what they do.
Parliament is working. Tomorrow they'll be working. They'll just have a session tomorrow.
Tomorrow is a Friday.
Just immediately after recess.
And the justification is because they're going on recess next week. So they want to see if they can at least clear 1, 2, 3 things before they go back on recess. So they'll have a session tomorrow morning and another session in the afternoon.
What's on the order paper?
We will see tomorrow. It's published on the day.
Okay.
Yeah. See? Karibu sana. Siti?
Yes,
I
please.
will pray.
The day's proverb?
Yes, indeed. Our proverbs for the whole of this week come from the People's Democratic Republic of Algeria.
Yeah. People's Democratic Republic of Algeria.
Okay.
Northern Africa.
You're placing it on your map.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You've located it.
You've
You're
seen
there.
it?
Yes.
You're in Algiers.
I'm in Algiers. I'm
good.
waiting to go to the desert.
This is one of the Maghreb countries, okay?
Yeah.
The one who shows his fear ensures his salvation.
Oh, yes.
The one who shows his fear ensures his salvation. What's the interpretation here?
Luckily, there is a similar proverb here in Kenya. The coward goes home safely every other day. That caution is a good thing. Whatever you're doing, if you exercise caution, the chances of survival are very, very high. But if you're all reckless, being fearful does not mean you're not courageous. But it just means you're cautious every time you're weighing things and choosing the better choice. Then you're likely to survive for longer, unless you're in a place where those types of choices, we would call it emotional intelligence, doesn't count. Merit, competency doesn't count. But otherwise, in the literal sense, the coward gets home safely every other day. Yeah.
We're seeing what's happening in the country now, particularly the drama today. The Senate, the Deputy President will have his turn today, and then the senators will have their opportunity to do what is constitutionally expected of them. Vote on whether to impeach the Deputy President or not. Throughout this whole drama, very many things are happening in the country and very many conversations are going on. Like, what's going on really? Is this a marriage broken? Does this really affect the entire country? Does it mean that the executive cannot function because those two can't function? What are we missing in this whole conversation?
I think what one we are missing is how the presidency, the organ of the presidency, which is what is responsible for chairing executive power, if we place a low bar at the point of forming government, then the smallest misunderstanding will occupy our time and resources become priorities when we have bigger priorities. At this point, one, it also shows the level of our democracy. We are a presidential system of government, but because the president and the deputy president have, I wouldn't say have disagreed, their relationship has irretrievably broken down. This is a divorce, and a nasty divorce. You know, where relatives cannot mediate, not even the fact that your standing
Not the religious
leaders would be able to mediate on this. But as we do all this, what is not clear is what is the cause of this irretrievably broken down marriage. Because as Honorable Mutusa was presenting the grounds for the motion for impeachment, it is not yet clear. There is constitutional violation, which for me, I'm very happy. The bar set in Gachagua's impeachment, Mithika Nturi should have gone home forever. Most of our CSAs should not have been reappointed back. They never explained how their wealth was growing when the rest of Kenyans were becoming poorer. So a new bar has been set. I hope we will never go lower. The slightest imagination of constitutional violation for state officers, you go home. So do not imagine that, you know how previously you could not imagine the death of a president. Now you cannot imagine yourself violating the constitution. That's where we start. But this is the amount of energy, the time that both the oversight institutions of the National Assembly and the Senate have given to this just tells you, Kenyans, the political class cares about each other a lot and less about us and the issues that affect us.
You're saying there's no public interest in this?
There is a public interest.
Which one?
The public interest in this particular process is first for us to watch and see whether we are being taken for a ride. Because just think about it. If we are about impeachment for constitutional violation, shouldn't there have been an audit of the entire presidency for the last 2 years? And then we weigh. Of course, right now, we must impeach people who are not uniting us. If they are tribal, they must be impeached. It's against ethics. Anybody who steals or interferes with processes, who does not respect institutions.
Pause for a second. Being tribal, what again? It's illegal to be tribal.
No, you must unite. You cannot be discriminatory.
What I'm asking is, I can't be tribal and yet be somebody, a unifying figure. I mean...
Does tribal mean...
you are divisive.
Divisive.
By tribal means you're favoring one ethnic community of another.
Yeah, and what's wrong with that?
It is because it can offend others if not well balanced.
Offense will always be caused. So, I mean, in all honesty, if you look at where this arithmetic plays out well, often is in the civil service.
Yes.
And you'll be told this particular section, there are more people from this tribe than another section, there are more people from this tribe.
Yes.
And then some people come up with an overall assessment and say, the people who occupy most positions in terms of numbers, number 1, 2, 3, 4, excuse me. And they're usually just 4 communities.
Yes.
Yes. And again, if you look at those 4 communities, they're the most populous.
Yes, they are the majority.
So if you were to just talk numerically, they are likely to be more.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
But then we have affirmative action. You see, this tribal subject is something that I feel we need to discuss in detail, because every time it comes up, we have a Western perspective of it, which outlaws it, makes it bad, makes it terrible. And I'm asking why.
First note, I agree with you, City. We are a nation, we are a state of ethnic nation.
Yes, we are.
Which is a good thing.
That diversity is excellent.
Is very, very beautiful. But when it is deployed to exclude, and we forget who else we must try and play in, it becomes problematic. But the truth is, our DNA in Kenya is tribal.
Okay.
Is tribal.
Look at how we attempted to try.
And we've done it very well, because we even have, quote unquote, negotiated democracy. There are counties that must be formed on the tribal arithmetic.
Yep.
But that's the whole point. You've actually gone to what I was going to say, that the county system of government, among the many things it's supposed to do, was to bring about what we complain about in the national government to a point where every locality can be represented by a government.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
But even within those governments, the same complaints, and usually they have a commonality of language and culture, yet they will be complaints. And the complaints usually will be this particular clan, this particular this.
Family.
And even then, from among themselves, you will find they have solutions.
Yes.
They will say, if a governor comes from this particular clan,
The Senate.
no, they break it down. The senator must come from this one,
The deputy governor.
from this one,
Yes.
Woman rep.
women rep from this one,
Yes.
and the assembly speaker from this one. So they understand it and they balance it. But that story still persists, and yet we see, I'm saying, it plays out. Now that it plays out, it stops being, in my mind, it's no longer tribal. It's how human beings are inclined. So unless we can diffuse and break up and form a new understanding of what you call a family unit, because it starts from there, I am more likely to look after the interests of my members of my family.
Okay.
I am naturally inclined that way, and it is appropriate that I should do so.
I think
But public service must rise slightly higher.
No, I'm,
But
telling you, I'm going by origin.
Okay.
Bad tribalism would be where you are openly casting aspersion and spreading hate against another, right?
Yes.
If you're promoting yours against others, that's bad tribalism.
That's bad. True.
If you're only talking about yours and among other conversations that you're having, what's wrong with that? You're most likely going to do that. That's who you expect it to be. As a Kenyan, you in East Africa, we'll talk about Kenya. Among the 8 states of the East African
In Africa
community,
and the AU, we'll talk about Kenya first.
yes.
Why do you have 290
when we go to the World Cup, we talk about Africa.
For equitable representation.
Yes, exactly.
That is
and who are they representing?
ethnic communities and families.
But they come together to look at, one, the interests of wherever they come from, and be also the interests of the nation.
Yeah.
So
Now-
one is able to do all that.
But that's where you're taking us. What are we missing?
I am saying
What is the heart of the
The
impeachment?
manner in
Something
which
that
the
everybody
manner-
does, therefore.
the Western perspective is that every time you mention tribal, it's negative. He's being tribal, it's negative.
Yeah.
Okay. No, that one I do agree with
And then
you.
you harp on that, because that's what you said. What exactly is the cause of this marriage to break between these two people, right? It cannot be that he acquired wealth,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
It can be just because you've acquired wealth,
Yes.
then you and I can't really sit on this table.
How is
I
it a
mean,
problem?
We don't see that. We have not reached that level
Yes.
where we can say that our level of integrity is so high, that one person's level of integrity is so high that if they have questions about their partner's wealth acquisition, then they can come and say, this one I can't deal with.
Without questioning their own
Yeah.
wealth
Yes.
acquisition.
Right?
Yeah.
It cannot be
Yeah.
that this person's level of integrity is so high that because this other person has been going there and saying, you know what, we campaigned, we championed, we contributed votes, we did this. Because of that, I feel this is getting negative, tribal, and I can't deal with that.
Yes.
So for that reason, really, this is
I mean-
we can't say those are the grounds for this marriage to
And
break.
then you have our members of parliament coming out in the most hypocritical, in fact, raising the bar on hypocrisy, and you're suddenly hearing them talk about morality and wondering what on earth are these people talking about?
Thank you. Therefore, this is largely a distraction. What we are missing is, what are we being distracted from? Is this our biggest problem right now? And if we were to analyze it, imagine if we were to even go based on the ground. People have acquired wealth. We don't want them in power. We would immediately go for a general election.
Yes.
At county level, at national level. What is the other allegation is there's money we do not understand. Most of these state officers work with huge monies. When the rest of us are trying to do very difficult maths on M-Pesa and Pochi la Biashara, then they are working with envelopes. But so it is to ask ourselves, what is this impeachment motion about? Because impeachment, let us not demean it. It is a very strong oversight mechanism for the presidential system of government, for the entire executive, and we have seen it for governors.
Yeah.
But when you look at what is being discussed and the character and nature of all our political parties, they are regional, they are ethnic, even how the positions are shared, it is first who brought the largest number of votes for any political parties.
Yeah.
Whether it is Wiper, Kenya Kwanza. Look at there has been a bit of succession in ODM. That particular succession is based on where the bulk of the votes for ODM come from.
Yeah.
Now, what are we being distracted from? Is it public-private partnerships?
Do you think we're being distracted, or do you think we're just not being told the truth? Because it could be both as well. It could be
Very likely
that there's a personal difference that has emerged between these two. Just like there was a personal difference between the President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William. There was a personal difference.
Yeah.
We were never told. We just got to see glimpses of it here and there, but we never really knew what exactly is it that Uhuru and Ruto fell out over.
Yeah.
We don't know what exactly it is that Ruto and Gachagua have fallen out about. We
That's
don't
very
know.
true.
So that could be, they have fallen out in a way that we can't deal with each other. We really, and I've got to show you who the boss is, right? While at the same time, we take advantage of this. As we move this country into this, we are diffusing a couple of things. The country was coming back into issues of Adani every day, Adani this, Adani the other.
Yeah.
Calm down tension, focus on something else. Maybe the rollout on Shif and Shah, there was a lot of pressure building up. It's deflate
IBC and
focus.
The fact that we've not had IBC for the longest time.
IBC was not even coming into a pressure, but to cause this kind of national destruction. But what is it that we could be distracted from, and what is the truth?
I do not know
about this. Is it worth the cost to the general public? Because
No.
to the public, there's a cost here. There's a cost that we are paying. All this is costing us time, it's costing us money. It's costing us our politics. It's costing us a lot in terms of what's going on in the country. Is it worth it that we don't know what it is all about?
Yes, it is very much costly that I cannot answer. I don't know whether you have hosted people who can answer whether it is worth the time.
It is.
And whether it is focused on the right place. Remember Kenyans, when we started with reject the finance bill, we called for major changes of governance. We had a problem with all the actions that had been, a number of actions that had been taken by the presidency. That is why there were demands around cabinet, act on corruption, rethink taxation, rethink the policy, get back to your economic blueprint that you had proposed. Now, we do not know why. I am not yet clear what this impeachment is about. If you ask me, it is about political survival and the political future of the person who is currently in power, the president. After this, we are likely to see major realignment, not for Kenya's interest, but for the people who currently feel they are occupying power to make sure they retain it.
Okay,
they survive through to 2027 and retain it.
Okay.
And garner a second term.
Okay, let me throw
at a time when Kenyans are feeling all our entire political leadership needs to be relooked at. You focus on one distractors, but in the process, I see a lot of reorganizing, consolidation of power, both parliamentary power and executive power. Moving forward, I don't know whether we are waiting for the vote that will take place in the Senate. And one thing that the Gachagua impeachment has brought to us, there's the Kenya Kwanza agreement, okay? The positions that were to be shared. All the arbitrators of that impeachment are beneficiaries of that agreement.
Yeah.
Speaker Kingi is a beneficiary. Speaker Wetangula is a beneficiary. Then now you're the one who is overseeing this particular process, where what is communicated to us is there is a problem with how this person has behaved within the broader setup of how we formed political power. So for me, this is about political survival, political patronage moving forward, as opposed to being about us, the people of Kenya.
What are we missing in this? Is there anything that's beyond what we are seeing in the impeachment conversation? Diana is saying maybe this is also just leading us into destruction as something is happening because of the Gen Z. As a result of the Gen Z protests, there was a lot of, shake-up of the political class. They were like, oh my goodness, this thing could just slip away. So we need to take time. This could be a moment of consolidation. That throughout this impeachment process, there's a lot of consolidation happening in the background for the political class to rebuild the status quo and strengthen it.
Sure.
That's an interesting hypothesis. So show us. Can you see anything happening on that front? Where is the consolidation?
The consolidation is in the 280 members of parliament.
How?
You have currently, if we were to check based on who supports government and who doesn't, the minority numbers are very much what we saw in the impeachment vote at the National Assembly, and comprises of a few members of parliament drawn from the Kenya Kwanza coalition and Wiper. Minority as literal minority, without much power. ODM and the entire Kenya Kwanza coalition is now together and will vote together, will most probably drive business together. You've seen on the Adani bill, the leader of Azimio at the time of constituting government has indicated this thing is a good thing. I know these people. They are good. Please support. With that, you can see they have consolidated power. And if we are to drive anything through parliamentary oversight, it is unlikely. It is unlikely. So the political class has come together for political self-preservation.
But Diana, they didn't need an impeachment to do that.
This is the best way. This is the best way. No. At
the appointment of the cabinet
this is their way of telling us we are together. Do not try. That is what they are communicating to Kenyans. It is one of the ways, the clearest communication. Hey, I hope you can now see how we will be operating. Because look at the process of public participation. We were ticking boxes. All the other views that were given across the nation of what needs to be fixed, I would have hoped that is what the special sitting is about. That this is the mood of the country. What are we doing to remain the august house that is the one that drives national conversations, national dialogues? That has been completely lost. Now, could it also be an opportunity for the president to show that, look here, whoever comes next is my appointee? Nothing about where what political clout they hold or anything else. They will be my appointee. And I've heard people arguing that the process will be the same as that of the cabinet, a cabinet secretary, lowering the place of the presidency to a one person. And let's just use something that I believe strongly, that for us to get the candidate nominated and presented before Parliament, that must be accompanied by a process of clearing by a fully constituted IEBC. If that interpretation was to pass, and a court requires that the nomination of the person who will be voted on by the National Assembly to be our next deputy president must be preceded by a fully constituted IEBC. And we've not had a constituted IEBC for the last 20 months or thereabout. That means the president continues holding presidential power alone.
That's what presidential power means.
That is what president.
Yes.
So maybe this is a time where the current presidency wants to tell us what presidential power means. It is one person that is voted for, and then they determine who else they work with.
Let me ask you a question.
Previously, yes.
What if everything we are seeing has nothing to do with the president?
It has to do with who?
Who tells us what to do? Is the president the only entity in this country who talks to us and tells us what to do? Or when the president makes a decision, does he wake up in the morning, does his council of advisors, the ministers tell him what to do? Or are there other players who tell him what to do?
I currently, other than the influence we have seen, say, from the current president has alluded to the fact that he relies on his religious foundation. So I think that has an influence. Then there is what we have seen as the influence of, say, the IMF because of where we are with the fiscal consolidation. So far, the things that have been passed or spoken to us and we felt uncomfortable in our throat swallowing, housing levy, SHIF, SHA, Adani, Gachagua, they are driven by the president.
Let me ask you this question again. The reason why I'm asking this question is because which entity has been... Remember, IMF and World Bank didn't just come with in the time of President
Yes, they
Ruto.
came because we had problems.
Oh, no, we went to them. They didn't come.
Yes.
We went to them.
Yes.
In a previous time, one of the things they did, every time they gave you money, they came with conditionalities.
Yes.
In the Moi era, that's when we first encountered them. Structural adjustment programs. There was a moral tag to it. And the big push was not just accountability, but the need to deal with corruption. And if you look at the need to deal with corruption, the best way in which one can demonstrate the dealing with corruption is to choose a really big target. It doesn't get bigger than the deputy president. It can only get bigger if it's the president.
Okay.
What I'm saying is this. Everything you say is true, but we are in the realm of speculation.
Yes.
So I'm speculating.
I was now speculate now in plain English. What's your speculation, City?
My speculation is that the moral discussion around corruption and the dealing of impunity has kept coming up whenever we discuss issues to do with IMF and World Bank.
Yes.
And the friendship we have with America. The issue of corruption always comes up and how it ought to be dealt with and what ought to be done. Okay? Now, when somebody who is as high-ranking as a deputy president is now on the dock and is being paraded as the most corrupt person in Kenya, and we know that is not true. Okay? Yes. Where is the pressure coming from? I ask because with the prosecution of the deputy president, anyone who holds political office in this country and who has involved themselves in some form of impunity and corruption, that spotlight is on them. A spotlight that goes that high cannot fail to also illuminate other things that it was not intended for.
So you think our cousins from the city have told our big boss to deal with corruption?
To deal with corruption, we need a big example, man. Since we're speculating, we need a big example.
Do you think they provided him the list? or the name?
I don't think so. They don't provide you the list. They just say, look, you decide whether it's going to be a minister, whether it's going to be a what, but we need a big candidate that shows that you're actually beginning to deal with this thing. And why I keep emphasizing what my speculation is, why would somebody go on a path that even illuminates you? Because you cannot talk about the deputy president in our country and not talk about the president. It doesn't matter what you do, because it's a presidency. So why would you go into that? Why would MPs, who themselves have in the only little corner participate in the same activities that equals corruption, talk about this? I mean, surely. I understand hypocrisy. I understand raising the bar on hypocrisy.
So answer that question. So why? So why would he do that? Why would he expose himself? Yet he has other options.
That is why I'm asking the question.
He just fired a cabinet. He could just start proceedings against them. Oh,
he didn't.
In those 2 years when you're in office,
Yes.
now we can start. Open a case against so and so. There was an impeachment against you.
Yes,
It didn't go through. Let's
He
look at
could have.
fertilizer.
He didn't.
I'm saying he could have done that. He could have opened a case against 10 people
And I'm saying
whom he has fired.
And I'm saying
And that
He
would
didn't.
be so
He
a lot
didn't.
of light.
True.
And when he didn't, what he did was, it's like he retrieved lost ground again. Okay, you are not CS now, but you can be advisor. Okay, what is that guy going to advise you on?
So,
okay,
so big cousin, if the pressure from the big cousin is spill some blood,
Yeah.
bring a lamb,
Yeah.
I have set the fireplace for you. Why bring this one, which you has a cord tied to you,
the choice is left to
and
you.
not another one?
The choice is left to you. So you decide, okay, how can I kill two birds with the same stone? See, the question you asked earlier on then comes into play. It's never one thing when it comes to politics and politicians. You think it's this. Everything you suggest, it could be all those things you've suggested. But we tend to focus on one, and it isn't one. It never is one. If I move this piece here, and I move this piece here, and I move this piece here, the deputy president in the Uhuru government was not wrong when he complained about the handshake.
Yeah.
Because the moment there was a handshake, the whole structure shifted.
True.
It has shifted now.
Yeah. There's a hug shake.
It shifts. And when it shifts, what else happens? If I'm to be completely conspiratorial, okay? And let my conspiracy mind do roaming. How did the handshake come about? When this guy had sworn on the ancestors and everybody else that this would never happen, they didn't leave anything. They swore by, they swore. And so you wonder, why?
Playing to the gallery.
Precisely. So I am simply saying.
But so now it would therefore mean we have chosen to play to the global and Big Brother gallery, because then Kenyans are not convinced one bit. And even in that particular script, by the time the deputy president was being nominated, and that is part of the skunk that we are dealing with, this guy had so many cases that the then director of public prosecution withdrew. Right?
Oh, that we do very well in this country.
They've not even been reinstated.
It's something we do. It's something that if you've seen over time, there will not be insufficient evidence. There will be no witnesses. Something will come up, or there is evidence, but it doesn't meet the threshold. That's something that we do.
City, I would say, if this is how Big Brother likes to see things being action, they really have a high affinity for dramatizing things. This is just a dramatized sense that we are dealing with corruption.
If you think that is a problem, look at these austerity measures. We talk about it every day.
Yes.
Those things have never worked anywhere.
They have never.
Never.
Yeah.
Capital N and circled in red. So, we're experimenting on something that has been experimented on before, and the results are known. Why?
Because somebody must retain control.
Now, if you understand that, you see, again, I'm speculating here.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Because they leave it to you. They say, we want something to happen, so we leave it to you. You
Okay.
decide how you're going to go about it.
Then they give us something that distracts us. There will be, now we are quiet and so on. Then we say we have voluntarily submitted ourselves to an IMF diagnostic.
Political quarrels are never political.
Yes.
They are problems
interest.
with money. Money is involved somewhere.
Okay.
I cannot pinpoint and tell you where.
City, are you saying this is part of how we are fulfilling a conditionality?
Yes. If my speculation bears fruit, I would go in that direction. But even more importantly, bear in mind, looking at everything that we're dealing with and what is actually going on, we had the CS for finance, and he was bold enough to tell us that, some of these matters to do with our defaulting, it won't arise. The people who can determine that are the people I've been referring to.
Mm-hmm.
Because left on our own, we'll default very nicely.
Okay.
Yes.
So we are captives. This could be a process that manifests.
Captive. We are.
You guys are giving too much brain to this thing, but
as I said,
you really think there's so much, scheming and happening, and that's
no.
Play the game.
It's a simple thing. Get somebody big, so that we can see you're dealing with the corruption.
So
that we can see
you are dealing with corruption.
Yeah.
Because what are we talking about? Corruption. And believe me,
let's follow
Eric,
next week.
I really find it strange that
getting rid of somebody from a state office doesn't necessarily deal with corruption.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Optics.
There's no optic there because there's no corruption.
There's nothing.
There's nothing that we're talking. In fact, look at the public conversation, City. The bigger accusation against the deputy president is not about even the acquisition of wealth. It is the tribal connotation. That's a bigger one. The issue of corruption, there's nothing that has been tied to stole from public to yourself. In fact, the bigger accusations here is you have disenfranchised your fellow inheritors from an inheritance.
Yeah.
This is the big. There's nothing here that is corruption.
Eric, when you are asked to explain how it is you acquired a certain amount of money, what do you think they're talking about?
That is just talk.
No, that is mere talk. It is mere talk.
Allow me to rephrase my question.
It is such a terrible.
When somebody talks about money and points to the fact that you can't clearly indicate where you got your money, that is a topic of corruption.
Yes, it
is.
is.
It is an allusion.
Yes.
They're alluding to corruption.
Yes, it
they
is.
are alluding to corruption and leaving it at that.
And it's absolutely, and there's absolutely
That doesn't get us
new.
anywhere.
My friends, I am not proposing, neither am I saying, I am merely speculating, and I'm telling you that when you understand how certain institutions and people think about certain matters, then you are forced to look and ask, if we're looking at all these things, why are we not looking at this? That is my contribution.
Our certain bigger institutions that you allude to, our big cousins from the big city with the many lights, those ones, when they talk about corruption, they talk about corruption in terms of prosecution, conviction, and punishment. And the acquisition of the illegally acquired wealth, right? That's what they usually talk about. That's a push. That's how Moi ended up creating the Kenya Anti-Corruption Authority those days, right? It was a push for how do you deal with corruption? You must prosecute. You must not that you must talk about corruption publicly. Otherwise, we do that all the time.
Eric, we went
a new political conversation about corruption and some illegally acquired wealth or accusations there.
Or quote unquote a lack of national values.
That is nothing new, Bwana. That can't make that cousin happy.
How many times?
Imagine they couldn't even show the 5 billion.
Forget showing the
that
5
can't
billion.
make the cousin happy. If that cousin is the cousin that you're talking about, that cousin wants tangible. There's nothing tangible here, Bwana.
Eric, when you think about neoliberalism, for people just to continue accumulating their power and capital, they make sure that they win everything about active citizenship, about public life, and then they make sure we empty our intellectualism. So, but they can stoop that low to be pleased or to rely on this.
It's not
Probably I will watch because I'll take part. I'm following closely what our big brothers will be doing during their annual meetings, and whether then we as Kenya will go and say, "Oh, you have seen, we are addressing corruption at the highest level." But gosh, this is just doom. No. It can't be. But it is very, very possible. I hope Kenyans can see.
As I said, I am speculating.
Yeah. And you did not put any watchmen against any pushback on your speculation.
Oh, the pushback is actually...
It's not even like pushback, actually. It's discussion of the speculation.
Eric, the
And you
pushback
can't
is
try to
necessary.
defend- me, I'm just speculating. No, you have to defend your speculation.
I have defended it.
Move your mind to the end.
And I've received the pushback. And the pushback is good because it helps illuminate the very discussion that we're having here as to what it is that forms voodoo discussion. And you say, no, Chief, that thing can't work. Forget it. Tupambali. Okay? Then you move on to a different issue. So what exactly are we talking about?
Okay.
Because
that means
all these things that we hear and we've been reading, many of those things don't make sense.
Yeah.
That's true.
Okay?
The bottom line is we actually do not know what's going on.
What's going on.
Right?
Precisely.
Your speculation could be something. Diana's speculation, it's all about political realignment and all. It could be the bottom line is it's speculation, but the Wanjiko who needs to go to hospital today, that person in which sub-county who needs condoms,
This
there
is
are no
in
condoms.
Meru County.
Which sub-county was it?
It's Meru.
Imenti
South.
Imenti South.
Yes.
Right?
They don't have condoms.
They need
And they haven't had it for 3 months.
Yeah.
And
Those
more people will die from lack of dialysis.
They're not getting their
Oh, that is a constant.
The child who is in grade 7 today and going into grade 8, or the one in grade 8 and going into grade 9 tomorrow, next year, is still heading there without a teacher.
True.
Right?
True.
These are the things that are actually happening. The bottom line is those who are supposed to be delivering a service from government are not working as expeditiously in delivering that service. They're not putting as much effort as we are seeing the effort they're putting here.
CBC students
even having an extra sitting on an extra day, 2 sittings on a Friday, so we can maybe discuss some of these issues. And yet there are so many pending bills. Yet there are so many other issues. Yes, there are so many conversations that should be happening on inviting people to the National Assembly to ask them, where are we in terms of the rollout of SHA? Are we satisfied with the rollout of SHA? Are we satisfied that SHA is actually delivering as it should have? Those questions are not being asked. It is this one.
By anyone. The higher education model will continue running. CBC students will have no classrooms. We will continue to sink deeper into misery and poverty. But I think we have shown we can organize ourselves. Let's not allow all the big brothers, cousins, and everybody else to continue just tramping over us as Kenyans. And I like that we are all clear. This is a distraction. This is not what our biggest. It's not our problem.
Let me ask you, why would somebody create a distraction? The distractions are there for a purpose.
Because
what do you want to achieve?
They must secure other interests. And you're very right. Both political and economic is at the heart. The social is always left out because we come at the very end and we can be convinced very close to 2027. For now, if the political and economic interests are secured at whatever cost, so be it. If it is true, your speculation that this is about what then the people who control our economic fortunes want, clearly they will realize Kenyans and most other people have not been convinced. Because if you people in the media have not been convinced, I am very happy, because then the narrative will not make the impact or the waves it ought to. Something else will be created yet again. So I think it's about economic and political interests. Somebody somewhere is accumulating a lot of power and money as we focus on the Senate until midnight.
Yeah. Diana, thank you for joining us today. Have a good one.
Thank you for having me.
We will be watching and seeing what happens in the Senate today, in the National Assembly tomorrow, in the country going forward. Like you said, there's still a matter of the IEBC. It's a battle in court on the composition of the panel for the IEBC.
Not yet the appointment.
Jeez.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.